What's up, guys? Here are my predictions for a UFC fight night happening in Sunrise, Florida this Saturday. And it's actually a pretty good card. Some really solid fights. I might even say the early prelims is better than the prelims. But we're going to start with, in my opinion, the best fight on the entire card. John Lineker versus Corey Sandhagen. This is going to be very interesting between two fighters that are on polar opposites of the spectrum. You got John Lineker, who's a brawler, hits really hard, probably the hardest puncher in this division, but shorter, stockier, slower, tries to overwhelm you with his power and his volume. If he can get you close to the cage, he's very aggressive in that sense. Versus Corey Sandhagen, who uses a lot of footwork, trickery, uses his length a lot. He's going to be taller and longer than Lineker, and he creates all these angles, all sort of stuff. Very similar to a Dominic Cruz or a TJ Dillashaw. I mean, this division has crazy amount of people with amazing footwork. Now, off the bat, this fight is going to be extremely hard to predict because with John Lineker involved in every single fight, he only needs one. He only needs one punch to land, and he can end anybody in this division. And he has an insanely solid chin. He fought TJ Dillashaw with a broken jaw. Went through the entire fight doing so, and he got hammered by some of those elbows and some of the ground and pound from TJ. I mean, he's taking shots and just walking right through them and landing his big hooks, and that's really what he throws for the most part. Hooks to the body, hooks over the top. Even though he's very one-dimensional in those attacks, he mixes it up very well to the body and to the head, where he catches the opponent unexpected, making up for his lack of speed. But because of all that, he is very efficient, and he's a lot more patient than he used to be. And he's dealing with these guys with pretty good footwork very well, such as his last fight with Brian Kelleher, his fight with Marlon Vera. I mean, these guys have pretty good footwork, moved around him a lot, and he was able to deal with it with being pressuring, yet patient. And whenever the opponent's on the outside, he's throwing leg kicks constantly. And Sandhagen doesn't check kicks too well. So that could be a point where John Lineker can start slowing down Sandhagen, work to the body a little bit, and find hooks over the top. But on Sandhagen's part, his footwork offensively moving forward is masterful. Defensively moving backwards, it's a lot easier to deal with for his opponents. And you saw that especially against Yuri Alcantara, who he was able to blitz Sandhagen right in the beginning of the fight and stun him. John Lineker, if he traps Sandhagen to the cage, I see Lineker just landing a bomb and knocking him out. But everything points to Sandhagen having all the abilities to beat a guy like John Lineker. I mean, he has the length, the height, the footwork, the speed, the combinations, the takedown threat, the head kicks, the flying knees. He has some of the same advantages that TJ had over John Lineker. But Lineker's a different fighter since then. And like I said, he's dealing with these guys with good footwork a lot better. But my prediction for this fight, my head says Sandhagen, but my gut feeling says John Lineker. And Sandhagen does stay in the pocket a little bit too long. He likes to throw combinations and close, even though he's such a long fighter. And in those exchanges, Lineker will beat him every single time. You know what? I'm going to go with John Lineker in this one. I think his experience is going to matter. He has over triple the fights, almost 4 times the fight Sandhagen has. And he's a lot more patient. The leg kicks are going to do some damage early on. He can work to the body of Sandhagen to eventually find his shots over the top. And like I said before, Sandhagen's retreating and exiting ability isn't the best. It isn't like a TJ Dillashaw at all. And that is where I could see probably Lineker marching down, crowding Sandhagen to the cage, and finding those hooks. Eventually knocking him out in the second round, I would say. And then we go to Glover Teixeira versus Cutelaba. This is another pretty hard fight to predict. And it's mostly because of Teixeira's age, I would say. He has all the abilities to beat a guy like Cutelaba, especially with the grappling, the wrestling, the high-level BJJ when it gets to the ground. But on the feet, yes, Glover is adept in his boxing. Offensively, defensively, he's left open for uppercuts a lot. He leaves that opening many, many times. And Cutelaba is a powerhouse of a striker and uber aggressive when you give him the opportunities. And in Cutelaba's fight with Antigulov, he was taken down pretty easily. I mean, he had control in the clinch when he was able to stand up, but I don't think he's going to be able to stand up on Teixeira. Teixeira's a different kind of BJJ artist at a very, very high level. But this all comes down to what is Glover going to do? Is he going to show some of his lack of fight IQ and start standing with his opponent and try to trade punches with them? Or is he going to go to the path of least resistance, which is a very successful path he could take, and going for that powerful double leg, eventually try to get it to the ground and work his magic from there, smothering the opponent, heavy top pressure, eventually trying to get an arm triangle or something. He's very good with strongman submissions and very good with guillotines and even getting in the back. So my prediction for this fight, I'm going to go with Glover Teixeira. I'm going to go by a second round submission. But with these kind of fights, man, Cutelaba needs one shot and Glover's out. And then we go to Alex Oliveira versus Mike Perry. This is going to be a fun one. Definitely going to be either fight of the night or performance of the night. 100%. 2 knockout artists. Oliveira is a lot more athletic, a lot faster, a lot more reliant on his footwork and his placements. Whereas Perry is just a brawler, comes at you, tries to land heavy strikes. I will say Perry has the advantage in the clinch, He's much more powerful and he's a lot more ruthless in there. It kind of overwhelms his opponents. But at a distance, Oliveira is just way too long, way too fast, way too powerful, and way too precise with his shots. I mean, his straight right hand is dynamite. And Perry, he leaves his chin in the way a lot of times, but Perry is gifted with a pretty good chin. So maybe he could turn it into a brawl if Oliveira lands that big right and Perry's still there and he starts mixing it up with Oliveira when Oliveira lunges himself in there with that long right hand. It can start getting a little dicey for Oliveira. But that's a warrior-like task to take some punches from Oliveira to make it a brawl. I do see this fight being very similar to Ellen Joban versus Mike Perry, where Joban was moving around a lot, circling the cage, landing kicks, coming in and out with his strikes. But the difference here is Oliveira has some real brute-like power. He doesn't fight like a brute, but his punches are almost sniper-like with heavy impact. And I just don't see Perry taking too many of those shots. Even Oliveira's kicks are amazing. His leg kicks can be there. His head kicks, his spinning kicks. His jab can be used. He has a big reach advantage over Perry. So my prediction for this fight, I do think Alex Oliveira has all the tools to dominate this fight, if not knock out Mike Perry. But I'm going to go with Oliveira. I'm going to go by a third round TKO, where Perry is showing his toughness throughout the fight. And then we go to the main event, Jacare Souza versus Jack Hermansson. Now, I know people want to hear about the Greg Hardy versus Dmitry Smolikov fight, but it's just too wild of a fight. I mean, incredibly hard to even break down a fight like that, especially with fighters who pretty much will throw it all in the air there. I do think Dmitry should beat Hardy because of his experience and his grappling, but you never know with the heavyweight division, especially guys who are as inexperienced as these two. So I do think Dmitry should win, but you never know with Greg Hardy's power and his size and his athleticism. But in the main event, this is going to be pretty interesting. Jack Hermansson is coming off a very short notice after his amazing win over David Branch, where he took no damage and submitted the high-level BJJ black belt. This is a different high-level BJJ black belt. This is not going to be that easy. Jacare has insane power in his right hand. His boxing has greatly improved. He's 39 years old. And he's better than he's ever been. His body shots are so fun to watch whenever he lands that left shovel hook to the body. He comes with the right hook over the top, left hook counter, good leg kicks, even powerful head kicks if he sees those like he landed on Derek Brunson. And he has a powerful double leg and he will pull guard if he needs to. If the takedown's not working, he can pull guard and it will be a very dangerous place for Jack Hermansson. And actually anybody in this division, besides maybe Yoel Romero or someone with equal level grappling or wrestling. But Jack Hermansson, he has good footwork. You know, he moves around a lot. He's a very active, energetic fighter. He has some good strikes. He has some good kicks. He doesn't dig in with his punches as much as Jacare does, but he's a lot better with his combinations. But where Jack Hermansson has the biggest advantage is ground and pound. And that's unfortunate because he probably won't be able to use that against Jacare unless he can tire out Jacare because it's a 5-round fight and eventually get him to the ground and start ground pounding him. Other than that, I don't see where else Jack Hermansson is going to have a big advantage. His fight with Thiago Santos really shows some holes in his striking, especially his footwork. I mean, when he's getting pressured, he's a lot easier to deal with. And Jacare is always the guy that's pressuring the opponent backwards. The only thing I don't like about this fight is Jacare's mentality. He looks extremely mad. I don't know if he's motivated, but he looks extremely angry about the title shot picture. And that could probably play into this fight and distract him. I think if Jacare is all in there mentally, he should be able to dominate a guy like Jack Hermansson. So that's going to be my prediction. I'm going to go with Jacare Souza, and I'm going to go by a third-round submission. I think he's going to be able to pressure Hermansson back, land some big body shots, threaten him with the right overhand enough to where Hermansson is not committing as much. And whenever Hermansson does commit, I see Jacare going down for the double leg, just dominating every aspect of grappling, and eventually getting submission later in the fight. And then let's look at the betting odds to see if there's anything interesting. Wow, Carla Esparza is actually the underdog against a newcomer. Verna hasn't really fought anybody. I know she's 14-0 and she has a lot of submissions and that could probably hurt Carla's wrestling. But that experience from Carla, I mean, they made this mistake many, many times. Even against Roxanne Modafferi versus Antonina Shevchenko. But Carla isn't that much of an underdog. I think she should win the fight. But to be honest, I haven't done too much research on Verna. Sandhagen is actually the underdog. I'm actually surprised they would have him there. I mean, that's not a bad bet. Even though I do think Lineker probably will win. I mean, I'm back and forth of that. Sandhagen definitely can win that fight. Greg Hardy is that big of a favorite. I mean, that's probably your dog of the entire card. Dmitry Smolikov. And yeah, everything else I pretty much agree with. They didn't go crazy too much with the betting odds this time. And then really quick, for the Bellator card, I do have Rory dominating John Fitch. I mean, he's better in pretty much everything. I would say Fitch is probably just better with traditional wrestling, but MMA wrestling goes to Rory, I believe. I do have McFarlane winning as well. Just too much experience. The grappling is just too high level. And for Phil Davis versus Liam McGeary, even though it is a dangerous fight for Phil Davis, his fight IQ is too high. He won't make that many mistakes to get caught by something crazy. And he has an insane chin himself and great submission defense. His wrestling will be a big factor in that fight. And for Benson Henderson versus Adam Piccolotti, that fight can go either way, I believe. Benson Henderson's a bit old in the game now, but I do have him winning because of his experience. So I hope you guys enjoyed the predictions, and if you did, make sure to give it a thumbs up. If you enjoyed my content, make sure to subscribe. My next video is going to be maybe a reaction video. If not that, it's going to be a breakdown of one of the fights this weekend, so be on the lookout for that. And again, thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.